Hello everyone. Today we will be talking about how to improve resilience. What is resilience? According to the American Psychological Society's Dictionary of Psychology, resilience is the process and outcome of successfully adapting to difficult or challenging life experiences, especially through mental, emotional, and behavioral flexibility and adjustment to external and internal demands. Several factors contribute to how well people adapt to adversities. Predominant among them are the ways in which individuals view and engage with the world, the availability and quality of social resources, and specific coping strategies that are used. Psychological research demonstrates that the resources and skills associated with more positive adaptation, meaning greater resilience, can be cultivated and practiced, meaning that no one needs to be born resilient in order to have resilience, because this is something that we can learn and acquire. Now we will be looking specifically at resilience regarding infertility. The first model that I'd like to present you with is the infertility resilience model from 2008. This is a framework with various individual, couple, and external factors that influence resilience and can help us understand how we can help people and couple work on their resilience. So this is the conceptual representation of the model. And as you can see, they were still working with a binary mindset of a couple, but of course we don't need to just have husband and wife. It can be just two people in a couple, if not more. And we can see that we have individual perceptions, we have collective perceptions, and we have external influences that affect the individual perceptions. And resilience occurs amongst these three fields, meaning that we have individual perceptions of how things are and work, and then we combine them when we are in a couple, and these are constrained by the external influences that we are exposed to. And these influences include geographic location, diagnosis, socioeconomic status, social support, education, ethnicity, duration of infertility, religiosity, and cultural influences. And these influences may be shared or not shared. This model says the exposure to significant risk should be demonstrated. We should try and identify what these risks are and how they operate on day-to-day life. And we should try to identify protective factors that could mitigate or help us endure whatever these risks are. The operational definition of resilience needs to specify as either a process, meaning that it's a means to an end, or an outcome, meaning an end. And it's also a unit of analysis. It can be individual, couple, or both. This model proposes that we should focus on a patient's personal path, plans, wishes, motivations. So we should really individualize the care that we are providing and never assume what the patient wants or desires. We should always try to explore, assess, consider social cultural limits, which sounds really obvious, but we really, again, cannot assume these limits, and it should be collaborative work when we are working with the patient and be very open about the type of care that we want to provide. We want to be tailored and we want to be specific to the person, and we do not want to cross any boundaries. We should understand gender differences. I know that this picture isn't the best picture. We should really try and cover all the genders. And again, be specific, talk to the patient, ask how they want to be called, what are their pronouns. Then we should assess any strong personal beliefs. We should try and see if they are beliefs that work under dysfunctional thought processes, how they really play out in this person's life, how strong are they, why are they that strong. So really try and understand how this person works without just assuming and providing a one-size-fits-all therapeutic plan. Then, of course, individual circumstances and alterations to personal identity are important. Infertility is a really demanding diagnosis, and this will have a strong impact on how this person now is, how they think, how they behave, how they feel. They will really go through a lot of emotional turmoil in the majority of cases and see their social circles change. Social meanings and value of marriage, parenthood, and childlessness, and I can't stress enough how important this is and how it changes from culture to culture and from household to household. It is really important that we understand and that we are able to have an open conversation about it. It can sometimes be triggering to explore these meanings and this value, but it's really important that we do so and actually help the patient be aware of some of these underlying meanings, belief systems that they are working under. Then the meaning and perceptions associated with the experiences that people have had with their infertility or their difficulties conceiving. Again, some people have gone through a lot of traumatic experiences. Some people already have a really beaten a path before they get to you. Probably they've been struggling for some time, and that's why they are coming to talk to you as a mental health care professional. So really try and understand how this experience has been for them and what their hopes and expectations for the future are. Then internalization of social norms. Again, this is very important. And I think it touches a little bit all the points that we've been talking about, like gender differences and social meanings, perception. So really try and contextualize what are these people working with, working against, or working for. And of course, family environments, very important to see their clinical history, the dynamics that they are living with, and how they are able or not able to cope with them. Then, of course, we should always encourage that infertility isn't a taboo, isn't a secret that's kept just between the person and their therapist. It's important that these people have a social support network apart from you as a professional. This may entail building new networks or restoring, healing, whatever word you find most appropriate, relationships that already exist in this person's lives. And we can also open support groups, and this could be just a sharing group, or we could actually have groups that have specific therapeutic plans and interventions for them. And this can be quite useful. We normally have to have in mind differences between these people, age differences, different experiences, what has their story been so far, and we can rearrange the groups in such a way that we think will be more profitable in terms of their well-being and their mental health. This model defends that therapeutic intervention should be at a couple level, ideally, and be specific to marital domains such as sexuality, communication, and partnership. And we should always try and evaluate the perceptual congruency of the couple's perceptions, meaning that we should compare both spouses' perceptions and see if they are consistent, if they are different, why, how does that affect them, and how we can come together. We should always help couples externalize aspects of infertility that they feel they have no control over, and we should help them increase acceptance, tolerance, and understanding between each other. Now we're going to jump to 2020. A paper came out explaining how resilience works as a predictor of quality of life, basically stating that the lower the resilience status of infertile couples is, the higher risk factor compromising the quality of life will become, and the higher risk of increasing emotional problems. Then this makes it very difficult for the person to handle the process, whatever that process is, regarding their fertility journey. So when we are trying to create a therapeutic plan with this person and we are trying to support them, we need to have a comprehensive, holistic, and family-centered approach. We need to educate the person and provide information about differences regarding perceptions and coping and encourage resilience in a very practical way, because then this will ensure a better outcome of infertility treatment. Then in 2021, another paper came out talking about how family resilience is a protective buffer in the relationship between infertility-related stress and psychological distress. So basically, I think it's really easy for us to understand that the higher someone's infertility-related stress is, the higher psychological distress they will experience. However, we can moderate this relationship and change how these two variables interact if we add the variable of family resilience. Now, family resilience refers to a family's ability to adapt to stress and recover from adversity. This can provide a supportive environment when family members are struggling with stressful life events such as infertility, because although we can have a single person being infertile, we can have multiple people being infertile in a family, but even if it's just a single person, this is still considered a family obstacle. Family resilience has three core dimensions: family belief systems, family organizational patterns, and communication style or problem-solving abilities of the family members. So the higher family resilience is, the lower psychological distress we will experience, even if we have infertility-related stress. Now, interestingly, all domains of family resilience could moderate the relationship between social concern, need for parenthood, psychological distress, but they cannot moderate the associations between psychological distress and sexual concerns, and relationship concerns and rejections of a child-free lifestyle. Let's see why this is. So, all domains could moderate the relationships between these three variables. So infertile people often worry about the breakdown of their families as a result of their childlessness, and they can also have a sense of incomplete family structure. Plus, social concerns are generated by the time spent with friends who have children, or are derived from social comparisons and feelings of isolation experienced by the person due to their infertility, meaning that they sort of feel like they don't belong or aren't keeping up with the natural social evolution of family structures. So people may feel like there is something inherently wrong with them, as if they are less than other people, or as if their condition is their fault, or a sign of their lack of worth, or a sign of their, being not being worthy because the universe, God, doesn't want them to have a child. Okay. So high family resilience could acquire intimate support from their partners and families to alleviate the stress caused by infertility, meaning that people are able to connect at a more intimate level and alleviate that stress because they can count on each other. High family resilience could also have a warm environment for identifying problem-solving strategies, meaning that we have a setting that's nicer to work with and better to identify protective factors and diminish risk factors, and cohesively mobilize kin and social resources against the distress, because again, it's seen as a family obstacle and not just an individual problem. Family communication also plays a crucial role by improving damaged relationships and reducing misunderstandings, and also fostering the ability to struggle well, meaning that family members love each other and are working as an intimate unit when facing challenges. A positive outlook and positive social examples may also help resist the social prejudiced belief that childlessness is always the woman's fault, that children are an indispensable part of family, that parenthood is a primary or essential aim amongst women with infertility, or that it reduces one's perspective of complicated stress caused by the need to be a parent, which is normal, common, and expected given the situation, meaning that if we are aware of whatever it is that we believe the norm is, if we are aware of the prejudice that exists, if we understand and are able to take a real look at our lives and say, okay, do I really want this? Do I not want this? What does this mean? How can my family look like? Do I have any positive examples of other people who have had alternative paths to parenthood and who are happy? So being a bit analytical, being able to reflect, being able to look outside your bubble may be really important in order to have a complete outlook on things, which includes also the positive side of it. And examples might go a long way when trying to access this part of life, which may be really difficult to do because infertility can be really difficult if you do want to have a child. And now let's see why family resilience cannot moderate the relationship between these variables. So let's start with the first relationship between psychological distress and sexual concerns. So sexual concern involves sexual enjoyment or the difficulty of scheduling time to be intimate with one's partner, and these aspects are greatly influenced by both partners in a couple. So the authors basically infer that the three levels of family resilience, so the three core dimensions I mentioned a couple of slides ago, cannot easily buffer their relationship with psychological distress. Now, regarding the association between relationship concerns and rejection of a child-free lifestyle, we can say that the relationship concerns entail difficulty talking about infertility, understanding and accepting sexual differences, and worries about the impact on one's relationship. So the authors speculate that the three dimensions of family resilience primarily emphasize that families help infertile women to cope with infertility through communication, social resources, and a positive outlook. But family resilience is not able to change women's views per se on infertility and childlessness at the cognitive level. So support is provided, but we are not changing people's thoughts and beliefs on the matter. According to this article, in order for us to foster family resilience, we should promote the three core domains of family resilience. So it can strengthen this variable. And the three core dimensions are family belief systems, organizational patterns, and communication or problem-solving abilities. Then we should also concentrate on the family's strength, family members that, aren't necessarily blood relatives, but they are still part of the family, are still included in the sense of family. And we should focus on the strength, try to encourage, develop, learn more, keep on being empowered by this strength instead of focusing on those things that we aren't as good at. We should always conduct family resilience oriented interventions, meaning that we need to be contextualized and not just have a one size fits all therapeutic plan. And also we should foster stable, warm, and cohesive relationships with family members, no matter the context, culture, religious background, doesn't matter. These things can always be fostered, even if in different ways, in different families. Then in 2022, another paper came out about social resilience as a mediating factor between stigma and social avoidance and distress of infertile patients. So basically, the model looks a little bit like this. It's a model of partial mediating effect. We're going to see what this means. So social stigma directly influences social avoidance and distress. When social stigma is high, social avoidance and distress is high as well. But there's another pathway to get to social avoidance and distress. So if we start at social stigma, it's high, it leads to low psychological resilience, which then leads to high social avoidance and distress. So we need to know how stigma against infertility patients looks like, when and how it happens, how it is interpreted by the patients, and how and when it changes over time, how it changes factually and perceptually. We need to take targeted psychological interventions, focus on specific goals, and use objective measures to assess the success of the intervention. And these things might help social avoidance and distress decrease. Now, keeping the same model in mind, what if psychological resilience was high? And instead of replacing it in the model as a mediator that is influenced by social stigma, what if psychological resilience itself influenced social stigma in such a way that when high, it could decrease social stigma and also decrease social avoidance and distress? It means that psychological resilience, if it's something that we can acquire, learn, and work on, we can also defeat a lot of the external variables that have an impact on our mental health. So how can we do this amazing thing? First, we need to have culturally appropriate psychological counseling, and we need to be able to openly discuss risks, challenges, and taboos. We need to assess the self-efficacy beliefs that we have, and also check the way patients solve problems and would solve hypothetical problems. So we need not just to be appropriate, but to be open. We need to assess where we are, be reflective, not take for granted or assume our own belief system, really analyze what we use to make our decisions, what influences the way we think, what influences the way that we feel, and then check how we would put all of this work into practice. How would we solve problems that come our way? Then, of course, we can also promote self-awareness and self-acceptance, promote affirmations of self-value. Of course, this always needs to resonate with the patient. This needs to be authentic, honest. It needs to be truthful. It cannot just be saying affirmations just for the sake of saying them. We should reinforce positive ways in which patients are trying to solve problems and cope adaptively, and even, state examples of how patients have done it successfully. We should guide patients to find their own ways of working and walking in the world, and be able to identify their own advantages and why it's amazing to be who they are. And we should promote integration into enjoyable activities and social activities so that we can diminish the isolation that's very common in infertile couples or people that are going through difficult journeys, particularly those who are plagued by social stigma. And this is our presentation for today. As always, please comment, or if you have a question that you'd like me to answer, please just email me, Beatriz@efp.clinic. That's Beatriz @efp.clinic. Thank you.